heading into this season, we kind of talked about the East being a really competitive division. Do you see this division also kind of being anyone's to take, or do you think maybe the top end of the division sets apart from the rest?
I think the Bengals are like very clearly the most complete team at the top of this division. I don't think that's really up for debate. Although I don't think the Steelers and Ravens are as bad as some people might say they are. I just think that the Bengals have just like a firm grasp on like what their team is trying to do, how they've built it. Like they just keep adding weapons, and I don't see any reason that they would lose the division to um I guess I should say unbalanced teams like the Ravens or the Steelers, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Burrow, he was dealing with that calf injury that kind of gave everyone a scare early in camp, but it looks like he's going to be all right. I know, was it T. Higgins? I forget who said, but someone said like one of his teammates said he shouldn't even play week one. He should let that heal. He should take a few weeks off just to make sure he's ready for the stretch run. Doesn't really seem like it's going to go that way. I think Joe Burrow is going to be suiting up week one, and they're going to anticipate him just being Joe Burrow as always.
I understand the caution of like waiting 1 week. You also don't want to start off badly because you weren't playing with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he should be fine. Like he just doesn't he won't play in the preseason, probably won't play in any intensive practices from here on out. I don't think they need to go like that far because sometimes like you if you don't get into rhythm, like even if you're a good team, you could like lose. So I think not playing Burrow would be a disservice week one because you want to get the chemistry flowing between the teams.
If he feels he's healthy enough to play, I think he should play. Uh,
Exactly.
with that in mind, this Bengals offense is lethal, and it's what has allowed them to become contenders over the past 2 years. That
Hmm.
trio of receivers, Jamar Chase, who, I mean, I took him first overall in one of my fantasy drafts. I already had Jefferson in two leagues. Didn't want to triple down in case of an injury. So I think Jamar Chase, I mean, back at LSU, he was an even more heralded prospect than Jefferson. And you throw
Yeah.
in Higgins, who's awesome. Tyler Boyd's been there forever. I think that's the best wide receiver room in the league, and plus you got Joe
Probably.
Burrow, an elite quarterback. So, do you see any scenario where the Bengals aren't once again an elite offense?
I think the only scenario would be like an if a scenario where like an injury happens. But I think other than that, I think they've really like improved their offensive line since that Super Bowl season because that really is, Aaron Donald was able to feast on them in that Super Bowl. I think they've really improved. Orlando Brown, I think he's a little like up and down, but he's gonna help solidify one of their tackle spots. I think that they've really improved like the big area of weakness, which was the offensive line. So I think they should be fine.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny the way they've kind of approached improving that O line, and it's definitely improved. I completely agree. Orlando Brown, he's on the Ravens and the Chiefs. He's blocking for great quarterbacks, Lamar, Mahomes. Now he's going to be with Burrow, chasing a Super Bowl. And then guys Tom Brady, who blocked for Tom Brady, Ted Karras, Alex Kappa. They had
Mhm.
solid enough resumes. I think Alex Kappa even made a Pro Bowl one season. They come along, and Jonah Williams at right tackle, he was a highly drafted player, so they have high expectations for him. Really, it's just Cordell Volson at guard, but even then, he was a rookie last season. He could get better as well. And with Orlando Brown helping him on the left side, maybe he will get better. Obviously,
Mhm.
Lyle Collins, who was their left tackle last season, still on the roster, but dealing with a torn ACL, torn MCL. So if he returns, won't be towards the end of the season, but even still, by signing Orlando Brown, they got a great replacement or even a partner for him in the future if they keep Lyle Collins.
Well, it kind of depends. I believe they signed him to a 2-year deal last offseason. So, and Lyle Collins, he's getting up there in age. So if Jonah Williams, proves that he can just replace him and he's serviceable or if not better, then there's a chance Lyle Collins, we don't see him come back, which is unfortunate because when he plays, he's honestly probably one of the better offensive linemen in the league. And even if like some injuries happen, they have Jackson Carman. They drafted him highly, the same year as Jamar Chase, I believe. And he played pretty well down the stretch last year as well at guard, I believe he was playing. He was playing where
Yeah.
was it did he replace Volson or Kappa? He replaced one of the guards and he played pretty well. So like he could always come in and play tackle or guard as well if necessary. So I think their offensive line, I think they've done a huge improvement like and really fixing it. And I think that's really gonna show hopefully this year with the Orlando Brown signing, especially.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's why I think the Bengals. I'll get ahead of the predictions here. I still think they're the best team in this division, even
Yeah.
though I really do like the talent in this division. I still don't see the Bengals. I see them as a Super Bowl contender, maybe even a team that wins the AFC. And even the running back room, it's pretty much the same. They did draft Chase Brown from Illinois, who Penn State fans know from the 9 overtime game. I think he had like 150 rush yards in that game. So that's why I knew of him when since he took him. But you got Captain America, Chris Evans in there, and then obviously Joe Mixon as RB1. Joe Mixon's like off-field stuff kind of just got, as it seems to always with Joe Mixon, kind of just got swept under the rug. So I guess
Kind of
he'll
just
be there
disappeared.
all season. Yeah, it always seems to happen that way with Joe Mixon, but
It's kind of odd because with like the whole college stuff that happened, it was kind of just like he did like the community service or whatever and it went away. But this one was like a lot more serious and they
yeah,
just kind of let it happen. But I don't think the Bengals are complaining necessarily because they still have their star running back. Like you were saying, Chase Brown, he's definitely a serviceable backup, possibly even a spot starter if anything does end up happening with Joe Mixon. Because did they say already if like they're not for sure suspending him, or is that still kind of pending?
I haven't heard anything about it. Like we,
Kind of up
we
in the
like
air.
Camara wise, we were hearing it rumored for a while. I don't
Mhm.
I don't think, to my knowledge, I've seen any Joe Mixon rumors.
Well, I guess the Bengals, I mean, I guess they can't complain about it. But no, I agree with you. Although I think the other teams have a lot of talent, I just think that the Bengals are the most like well-balanced roster in this division. You can't win with only offense or only defense. If you're lacking on one side of the ball, you're not really going to get far into the postseason if you even make the postseason. So I think that the Bengals are just because they've kept a lot of like consistency with like their Super Bowl team. A lot of these good players are still on this team. A lot
Yeah.
of them are coming back from injuries. They've bolstered some of the other weaker parts with like high profile rookies. So I think they're doing a great job at what they're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I completely agree. Looking at their defense as well, I mean, you start with that D line, that front seven. When you're going against Pat Mahomes, you're going against Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. Got to get the quarterback, got to disrupt. And this D line is still as fearsome as ever, maybe even more than it has been before. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson, who they signed from the Saints a few years ago, is the main star. But then you got Reeder and Hill as run stoppers. And then they drafted Miles Murphy in the first round from Clemson. And
Yep.
I know, like, from what I understood, I'm not a huge college football guy, but seemed like kind of raw, kind of up and down, but he's one of those guys with all the physical tools. And you put him on Lou Anarumo's defense, opposite guys like Hendrickson and Hubbard, like maybe even as a rookie, as a situational guy, maybe he can kind of tap into that quick.
I like what I saw out of him. I think he's exactly what like the Bengals like to look for in their DNs, their edge rushers. So I think that was a smart decision, but I think it's going to pay dividends eventually. Maybe not this year, but if he can come in, make a few plays, show some development, I think that's always good for them.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing they've kind of been missing from this defense was that type of outside linebacker edge guy. Hendrickson can get to the quarterback, but I think he's kind of always profiled as in the trenches DN
Hmm.
lining up from there. Where I feel Murphy, he'll kind of be more of a kind of not I'm not saying he'll be as good as Khalil Mack, but that kind of player can be DN outside linebacker, kind of just
Yeah.
rush the quarterback in quick fashion. So I like that. Then you look at their linebacker core. I mean, Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson have taken huge steps over the past few seasons. I don't really question either of their ability to be starters on this team. What do you think about the secondary? I think that's the most interesting part of this defense. They lost Eli Apple, so no more burnt toast memes, but I don't know. He was a veteran who started there. Now they got some younger guys, DJ Turner, Cam Taylor Britt, excuse me, kind of lining up opposite Chidobe Awuzie, who's coming back from an injury. So what's your take on that crew?
I think the secondary has a lot of potential. The problem is they're counting on a lot of young guys to really come in. Awuzie, he's really like the only starter that's had like a lot of experience. Nick Scott, he came from Penn State. That's our guy, and he was a starter on the Rams Super Bowl winning team.
Mhm.
So he as well is there, but I think I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to have some growing pains though. And I think that would push through that, especially with Dax Hill, because now he's a starter fully this time, and he's
Mhm.
starting at safety. So it's going to see interesting how like that kind of position change. Played a lot of corner last year when they were lacking because of Wuzie got injured. But I think this is going to be a good secondary. I think they're going to need to get their feet under them, but I think once they do, they should be pretty solid.
Yeah, so they lost. Obviously, Jesse Bates was the big loss going to Atlanta. He was a Pro Bowl caliber safety. They also lost Von Bell, who pretty solid, strong safety as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then Dax Hill, you mentioned he was their first round pick last season. Supposed to be a safety, played a little corner, but honestly just didn't play a lot in general. So
Hmm.
he's going to be expected to be a starter. I saw him playing in the preseason game a lot for the against the Packers last week. So yeah, it seems like they're anticipating him to have a big role. And then DJ Turner, their rookie as well. So I don't know. I think they've proven as a unit over the past few seasons that they can definitely compete. Now, losing a guy like Jesse Bates especially could be a big hit, but if Dax Hill can quickly adapt, kind of fulfill that draft position, maybe it won't be a huge loss. And at that point, maybe that's their weakness, but I don't know. I think they're going to be able to adapt. I think this team's going to be really good.